Okay, yeah, so I was gonna do a Street Fighter series review video type thingy, and I already wrote a script, and I took a bunch of video capture footage from the first two Street Fighter games. And then it turns out that I do not have the technical capabilities of recording 60 PAL format image from my Xbox 360, and that kinda sucks because that means I could not video capture Street Fighter 3, and even though I could probably capture Street Fighter 4, which is 50 PAL hertz, that would be kinda missing the point because I was gonna do a review on these four games. And this is the point at which I would normally just, give up, bury the video, or, probably never do it again, or maybe try again after I fixed all this technical issue. But you know what? Dagnabbit, people wanted to see more review videos from me, so they're gonna get it. So this video is kind of a raw work in progress. It's basically the first quarter of the Street Fighter series review video that I was gonna do, because there's no point for me to do the Street Fighter 2 review part, because even though I have all this footage, I don't have anything really original to say about it. But I could maybe tie it in with a review of the live-action Street Fighter movie. I mean, drop a line in the comments if you think that would be a fun idea. And if I ever get around to fixing this whole technological fuck-up part of this video, then maybe I will finish the rest of the review and I'll integrate this into it and everything, but for now, let me just present to you my review of the very first Street Fighter game ever. Now, many people recognize Street Fighter 2 as the game which popularized fighting games. Chances are that whatever console or computer you own in the early 90s, you would have had to have played it at some point. The game was so iconic that no one probably even stopped to think that it was a sequel to another game. Street Fighter 1? So why doesn't anyone talk about the first Street Fighter? It seems like this bizarre, forgotten chapter of video game history. Granted, the first Mega Man wasn't that popular or well known until number 2 came around. Now it could be at least called a cult classic. So why didn't the same happen for SF1? The reason, as you may have guessed, unlike the second game, the first wasn't available as widely. Apart from the arcade version, most people played it on their home computers, which sadly is the surest way for a game to disappear into obscurity. I'm not trying to be mean, just saying that a lot of computer brands just plain died out before the early 90s. So, why wasn't this game out on consoles? That seems to be the obvious market for it. Probably because it was a 16-bit game when the biggest console was still 8-bit. Well, it did make its way onto one console though, the TurboGrafx-16. Okay, pretty bad when the only home console it was on would end up a distant third place behind the SNES and the Mega Drive Genesis. But you think with the popularity of the sequel, it could have resurfaced? Well, there comes the second problem. It was released for the TurboGrafx CD add-on unit. Though I've praised it in the past, sadly, it was the most underappreciated of all the CD-based gaming platforms. Even worse, they changed the name to Fighting Street, ensuring it would be lost to the void of forgotten video games. But, to sum it all up in the end, if you've played Street Fighter 1, then you probably know the real reason why Capcom tends to keep this installment in the dark. It's absolutely horrendous gameplay. It's hard to explain if you haven't played it, but let me sum it up like this. As you know, Street Fighter games typically have 3 punch and 3 kick buttons. SF1 only uses 2 attack buttons, but there are 3 punches and kicks in the game. To do the quick attack, you just lightly tap on the button. To do the hard attack, you hold down on the button. And to do the medium attack, you basically have to take a shitty guess on how many tenths of a second you hold down the button. That's not even the worst part. Walking around is extremely sticky. There isn't that fluid motion you have in Street Fighter 2, and it just goes against every fighting game instinct you have. You can block, but it's terribly imprecise. Sometimes you can block enemy special attacks, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can block every punch they throw, sometimes you can't. The only playable characters are Ryu and Ken, but for Ken you have to start the game with the second controller. there's really no point. If you ever felt like Ken is just a palette swap of Ryu, then in SF1, he is literally just that. The only difference is that he starts at the right of the screen, which just completely throws me off. But hey, Ryu has the easiest special moves in fighting game history. Surely this game can't be that hard? Oh yeah, it is. Even though the motions to do the special moves are the exact same as in Street Fighter 2, the timing in SF1 is so inconsistent that pulling off the special moves is a matter of almost pure luck. Sure, if I keep doing quarter circle kick through the whole fight, I'll eventually do the helicopter kick, but I'll probably lose several rounds and a few credits along the way. Yeah, this game uses credits when you lose, which means you don't have infinite continues like the later games. Unlike the Neo Geo home console versions though, it's actually possible to earn more credits in the bonus games, so that's kinda nice. Now like I said, there really isn't a selection of characters to play as, but you do get to pick your first opponent. The characters are interesting and some of them have made appearances outside of this game. The thing that sucks is that all the characters have a predictable pattern. You could basically win all the fights with ease if you could do the special moves at all reliably, but it never happens. Eagle and Lee you can just beat by crouching and hitting them below the belt. For Retsu, Joe, and Geki, all you have to do is get right in their face and either punch repeatedly, roundhouse kick, or leg sweep them consistently. And throw a few aerial kicks in there while you're at it. It really says something about the quality of your fighting game when your best attack is just punching someone in the balls repeatedly. Alright! Then we have Birdie and Gen. These guys are the bane of my existence. Birdie is a fucking maniac with a completely unpredictable pattern. If you manage to do the helicopter kick twice, he'll go down, but it's just a survival round with him most of the time to see how long you can last before he headbutts you to death. With Gen, it's pure luck if he'll do his crazy aerial kick combo. Still, Mike might be the most overpowered character. I've counted. He can knock you out with 3 punches. With him, I usually just aerial and roundhouse kick him, then back up. Sagat is the final boss of this game, so you can see that beyond Ryu, Ken, and him, this game was mostly abandoned when Capcom made the sequel. Still, the game has some good points about it. The characters are interesting, the graphics aren't bad, and the music is actually pretty awesome. I even think the laughably bad voice acting actually adds a lot of comedy value to the game.
Listeners, don't forget the many gods to all over the world. Another one. Okay, Daddy. You've got a lot to learn before you beat me. Try again, kid.
I'm with James Rolfe on this one. There needs to be a Street Fighter the good version. Make all the characters playable, add Chun-Li and Cammy so you have some chicks in the roster, and bam, you're set!